There being so much content out there and so many books about money, how do you know which books about money you should be reading? That's the purpose of the video today. I'm sharing with you 10 books that you need to read on personal finance if you want to level up financially, you want that financial education, you want to achieve financial freedom, you want to start that side hustle, you want to learn how to budget, you want to understand truly how money works, then these are the books for you. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, thanks for stopping by, and if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for coming back to watch another video. It's amazing to have you here with me again today. Right, so as you can tell from the title of today's video, we're going to be talking about books, all about money. So in today's video, what I want to share with you is 10 of the best personal finance books that you need to read this year, and not even just this year, but as soon as you possibly can, because all of these books I've read and I can personally vouch for them and say that they have been transformational for me on my own financial journey. I've learned so much from each and every one of these books that I'm going to be mentioning to you, so definitely check them out. I'll link some of them in the description box below. So if you've been following my channel for any length of time, or you know any bit about my background when it comes to my financial journey, you'll know that this book was definitely going to make the list, and that is The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Now this book single-handedly transformed my financial situation, which is why I couldn't exclude it from the list, and this is why it's the first one that I'm mentioning. In that book, Dave Ramsey outlines the baby steps that you can take in order to achieve debt freedom. It's a very simple step-by-step plan for getting out of debt, from building an emergency fund, and for how to begin your wealth building journey. Dave Ramsey has a very no-nonsense approach when it comes to personal finances, and his book talks a lot about living below your means, avoiding debt, and slowly building wealth for the future by investing. I did a book review on The Total Money Makeover on my blog, and a video as well. I'll link that up there and there for you to watch that after this video. But yeah, absolutely epic book, and if you haven't read it, I definitely recommend you pick it up. Next up on the list, we have Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now this was the first ever personal finance book I read. This was years and years ago, before I got in debt and before I paid off my debt. So he offers an alternative way to building your financial future, other than the, go to work, save up, and then eventually you'll have enough money to live the life you want. He kind of shows you there's an opposite alternative way that you can take to get to that desired goal a lot quicker. In the book, Robert shares lessons from his two dads. So one was his biological dad and one was his rich dad. His biological dad he called his poor dad, and his friend's dad essentially was who he called his rich dad. So in the book, he highlights a few key principles about money. He talks about the fact that the rich make money work for them, whereas the poor work for money. And that was an eye-opener for me when I read that in the book, because it literally was like a light bulb moment. We don't have to work for money, we can get money to work for us. So that was the main principle that I took away from that book. He also talks a lot in the book about assets and liabilities and the difference between the two, and that the poor people tend to focus on getting liabilities which they think are assets, whereas the rich focus on getting assets which then they use to pay for their liabilities. Anyway, there's a lot contained in that book. It's very interesting, it's very insightful. If you haven't read it yet, I'll be surprised, to be honest. But if you're one of the few people that haven't read that book, definitely check it out, because it will open your mind to a new way of seeing money. Next up on the list, we have Your Money or Your Life by an author named Vicky Robin. Now I read this book probably back in 2019, I believe it was. I did a review on my channel, and I also did a review on my blog, because that's how much I loved this book. And it was one of those transformational books that really made me think differently about my relationship with money. So in that book, Robin focuses a lot on asking you these questions about what you value most. What's more valuable to you, your money or your life? Many of us say our lives are more important, yet we live our lives in a way that says the opposite. So we're actually living our lives in a way that proves that we believe money is of more importance than our time. In that book, she provides a 9-step program to help readers transform their relationship with money and achieve their desired goal of financial independence. Next up on the list, we have a book called The Millionaire Next Door. I read this book a few years ago as well, and again, an excellent book. If you haven't read it and you haven't heard about it, definitely check it out, because it's a really good financial book. What the book does is it looks at a lot of America's wealthiest millionaires and how they became millionaires, and kind of shares the backstory as to how they achieved their wealth. And what the author came to the conclusion of was that all of these people were able to build wealth over time with moderate roles and moderate incomes just by how they manage their finances. What he did is he done research into the habits of the wealthiest people in America. So he looked at a case study of many of the wealthiest Americans and what they were doing in order to amass their wealth. And what he realized is that they lived well below their means. They lived quite frugal lifestyles. They invested very wisely and they avoided debt at all costs. Millionaire Next Door is a very good book on personal finance. It will really make you think differently about how attainable millionaire status really is, because a lot of times we think it's like impossible to become a millionaire, but what these millionaires in the book have shown is that it is possible if you add time to smart investing. And yeah, the two together marry up well, and over time you can reach that millionaire goal too. But the issue is that a lot of people just want money fast and they're not prepared to wait for the time it takes for your money invested to compound in order to achieve that millionaire status. Next up on the list, we have The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. This book actually mirrors quite similar sentiments to the one I just mentioned, The Millionaire Next Door. So in The Simple Path to Wealth, it talks about how simple it is to really achieve millionaire status and to become wealthy, and that is just by smart investing in index funds over a sustained period of time and just allowing the compound effect to work for you. The book also highly emphasizes the importance of minimizing debt, living a frugal lifestyle, living below your means, avoiding debt at all costs, and investing consistently over the long run, and eventually you will reach that goal of financial independence. So it is a lot easier than you think. It's just the time element that people are not prepared to wait for. In the book, the author provides practical advice on investment strategies that you can use in order to reach that goal of financial independence. And the book just encourages people to just live a simple life and see the fruits of your labor compound over time. Next up on the list, we have The Boggle Head's Guide to Investing by Taylor Larimore, Mel Linda, and Michael LaBeouf. Sorry if I'm killing these authors' names, but I tried. But back to the book, another great book on the topic of investing. If you're new to investing and you want a common sense guide and you want tips and practical advice on how to get started, this book is definitely a worthwhile read. It's tailored towards more of an American audience, but there's still value in there for a UK reader. The book provides a comprehensive guide to investing based on one of the legendary investors, John Boggle, and the authors provide us with practical advice and different ways to diversify our investment portfolios and minimize our risk when we're investing. They show you how to minimize fees, minimize expenses, and achieve your goal of financial freedom. It also covers more complex investing topics when it comes to things like tax efficient investing and also retirement planning. But yeah, another great book that I definitely recommend you check out when you've got time. I'll link it in the description box below for you to grab your copy. Next up on the list is I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Now this book focuses on automation when it comes to personal finances. Ramit has a very different approach to some of the other personal finance gurus out there, in that he's just like, make it simple, set it and forget it, and you don't need to stop buying coffees and Starbucks in order for you to achieve your financial goals in life. He emphasizes the importance of making really conscious purchase decisions. Wow, that was a mouthful and a half. He really does emphasize how important it is to be conscious about your spending, is the point that I was making. So you can literally spend extravagantly on the things you love while cutting back and not spending so much on the things that you don't value and are of less importance to you. He shares loads of practical advice on how to save money, how to beat debt, and how to start investing for your future. Overall, again, another fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. I took a lot from it, and it really made me kind of think twice about my frugal living ways, because he just helped me to kind of bring that balance. Yes, I am trying to reach financial freedom, but equally I do need to enjoy the journey. So definitely another book that you want to check out. Next up is a book I read the most recently out of all of the books on the list actually, and that is The Psychology of Money. Listen, that book blew my mind. I read it I think 2021, late 2021 or early 2022 actually. I think it came out last year. So yeah, it was last year when I read this book, and my days, it was so good. I've put it on the reading list again for this year because I really need to read it again and take notes and definitely do a book review on it. So watch this space. Subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed, because that book review will be pending. I put it on my reading list for 2023, which I'll put up here or there so you can see the month in which I'm going to read that book, and then I will share a review thereafter so that I go into a lot more detail than I'm going to go into now. So in the book, Morgan basically outlines the relationship money has with our emotions. He really delves into the psychology of money, really goes deep in exploring how our beliefs around money impact the way we manage money and how it can highly influence the financial decisions that we make. And then he goes on to provide lots of really practical advice that you can do to transform your relationship with money and see where the gaps are between your money and your mindset and how you can kind of work to fix the two. So absolutely brilliant book, and like I said, I'm going to be reading it again later this year, and when I do, I'll do a review and I'll definitely share it with you. Next up on the list, we have the Meaningful Money Handbook by Pete Matthews. Again, this is a book that I read back in 2019 or 2020, and I did a review of it on my channel. I'll link the review below and I'll link it up there or there so you can watch it after this video. Meaningful Money Handbook is again another no-nonsense practical advice for the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of personal finance. But what I love about it is that Pete is based in the UK, so the financial advice and the financial information that is contained, all of it is relevant to us that live in the UK, whereas a lot of the other books that I've mentioned are more US centric, so you have to kind of take the bits that apply to the UK and the bits that don't, you kind of have to leave. Whereas with that book, the Meaningful Money Handbook, it's literally a handbook for every aspect of your personal finances. So everything from budgeting to paying down debt to investing to writing a will, like the book covers everything. And so that's why it's made the list. If you're based in the UK and you haven't checked out that book, it's one for you to go and check out. And last but definitely by no means least, the last book on my list is The Richest Man in Babylon. And my days, did I say probably the best to last? Probably not the best, but actually, I don't know. We can fight about it in the comment section below. But it is definitely one of the best books on personal finances that I've ever read. I read this book a few years ago again. I did a review and a book summary for it on my channel. I'll link it up there for you to watch after this video. But this book, yeah, when I tell you, it will just make you think differently about money. I think what makes this book brilliant is that it's so classic and timeless. It's such an old book, but the money principles in the book still apply in this present day. And that's because these money principles are timeless, and it doesn't matter when in time you use it, it will work and it will help you to grow your money. The book offers timeless advice on wealth building and money management, and it's written in principles across ancient Babylon. And the characters in the book basically learn loads of important money principles and learn loads of valuable lessons on how to make money grow for them. In this book is where I learned the concept of paying yourself first. So before you give, before you pay your bills, before you do anything else financially, pay yourself a tenth first, and then the rest of the money can be used for whatever else you want to use it on. It's definitely a fantastic book, one I would recommend you check out. It literally blew my mind when I read it. It is Old English, so initially when you start it, it might feel like this book is a bit dead, but if you get into it and you can kind of get past the Old English, there's so much value and so much lessons to be learned from this book. So definitely, if you haven't read it yet, read The Richest Man in Babylon. And if you haven't watched my book review, you can watch it up here or up there. But that is literally it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're going to check out some of those 10 books that I've suggested. Definitely check them out, and if you do, let me know what you think of them. Let me know in the comment section below if any of those books are books you've read before or books you were planning to read, what you think of them. Do you agree or disagree with the list? Let me know in the comment section below. But that's all I have for you for today's video. If you made it this far in the video and you haven't yet given it a thumbs up, then do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet subscribed, tell a friend to tell a friend, and I will see you on my next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.